Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about tic-tac-toe game. I was asked about this game by one of my students and I thought to make a video on this. Now for those of you who do not know what is tic-tac-toe game, I've just opened this Wikipedia page. You can understand it's basically a two-player game where you have X's and O's, and you have to make three consecutive in a line O's or X's. The one who does it first wins the game. You can take some time off and pause the video here, go and check what are the rules for tic-tac-toe. The language we'll be making use of is going to be Python, and the concept that we'll be mostly using would be of a function and of lists, and also how a variable is passed and an argument is passed, and values are returned from a function. This game will be a two-player game where one player is a user, which is a human, and the other is going to be a computer. Allow me to run you through all the functions and get you clear with their functionalities. Display board is going to be a function which is going to be called with an argument called board, and this board would be the list that would have values either X or O's. Display board is going to be called every time a player takes their chance or attempts for inputting X or O's in a particular position. Player input is going to be a function which is going to take an input from the user asking whether they want to be X or O. This is going to be basically the first step. If the player, whichever is choosing, wants to be X, then apparently the O would go to the computer. If player 1 chooses to be O, then X goes to the computer. The third function is going to be place marker. Place marker is going to be used for placing the marker, that is X or O, at a particular position, which is board of position, meaning in a list at a particular position X or O will be placed. Now this particular function will be called by both the computer as well as by the player 1, which is the human. The fourth function is a win check function. This function basically checks if three consecutive boards or the positions are of the same mark, which is either X, X, X or O, 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 only then it's a win check. Let me just go through the Wikipedia page. If you see here, which if assuming this is position 7 and this is position 5 and this is position 3, then all these three are in one particular line, and that's why this is a win game for the one for the player which has chosen O as their marker, and X is obviously a loser in this particular game. Now that was about win check. The next one is choose first. Now choose first is basically a function which is used to find out who plays first. Is it going to be a computer or a player? Now obviously you understand that this has to be run only once, because once you know who plays first, after that you don't need to use this function again. I'm making use of random.randint, which is used to check the generated number, which is random integer generated between 0 and 1. It could be either 0 or 1. The way I've written here is, if it is 0, then computer is going to be the first player, and if it is 1, my bad, if it is 0, then it is computer, and if it is 1, it is player 1. The next one is space check. This function is used to find out if once you have chosen, a user or a computer has chosen for a particular position to be placed as X or O, is it empty or not? If it is not empty, we have written a code in such a way that it goes back asking the user or the computer for inputting the next number. The next condition is full board check, which is used to check if the game is a draw or if the entire board markers are filled. Then the next one is player choice. That is, this is the main functionality here for the entire game. Here we'll be checking if the turn, that is the player's turn, is computer or is it player 1. If it is computer, I am randomly generating a number between 1 and 9 and placing it in a variable position. Then I'm calling space check function to check if that particular function on that board is empty. If it is not empty, then I randomly select a next number between 1 and 9 and keep checking until I get a space, a space check, like if I get a space in that particular board. If it is true, then what happens is that particular position is returned back to wherever it was called from. The else position is pretty simple. Here I'm just checking that I'm checking if the position is not in 1 space 2 space 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 dot split, meaning this is going to convert this into a list of numbers, string of numbers, which is list of string of 1 comma 2 comma 3 and so on. If the position is between any of these numbers, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, then I'm going to take this as an input, a valid input. If it is not, then I'm going to ask again from the user to choose a number which is between 1 to 9. The second condition here says if it is not space check of board comma enter position, meaning the position that I have entered in this particular in this particular step, if that position converted to integer is available in the board. If it is not available, then it is again going to ask back to the user to put a valid number which is empty. Now you may be having a doubt, how does a user know which one is empty? Obviously you are a player, you are the one who's playing the game, so obviously you know which one is empty and which one is not. However, I am also drawing the board. If you remember the first function which we have written, I am drawing the board and you can see the board and understand that this particular position is empty and this position is not empty. The last function is replay. Replay, I'm just checking here, converting whatever the input is from the user. If they want to continue, yes. If that has been converted to a lowercase, and then I'm checking if it starts with Y, meaning the user can even write yes ka Y or yeah or ya or yes, whatever be the input. I'm going to take it as yes, the player wants to play again. If it is anything other than that, it is going to return. If you see, starts with is a method which is returning a boolean true or false. If it returns true, it is replay. If it returns false, then it is that the user wants to quit the game. Then of course, this is the main functionality where if you see here, if you just run this, welcome to Tic Tac Toe will be the first line which will get printed. And then I'm using a while true loop. A while true loop is used for having an infinite loop. Unless you want to explicitly break on a certain condition, this loop will continue to exist. It will keep running. In the first step, what we are doing is I'm just resetting the board, assuming that every time the player wants to replay, then this board should be reset. So this step will create spaces, 10 spaces, because it is being multiplied by 10. So it will be a list of 10 spaces. Then the second line basically says take the input, which is player input. If you remember, I also told you that this is the first function that will be used, which will be used to ask, do you want to be X or O? Once that's done, we will be randomly choosing which one plays first. Then we are just printing here that so and so player runs first. Then the game is on. In the game on, this is basically again a while true loop, but understand this will be breaking out only when the game is a draw or if the game is won by somebody. Only then we'll be breaking out of this while loop. Otherwise, this game will continue. The outer while loop was used to run again if the player wants to play again, but the inner one is to continue the game until it's a win or it's a draw. Now if you see here, the first thing that we are doing, as soon as assuming that the turn is player 1, as soon as we know that the player is first one, then we are going to display the board, which was the first function we saw on top. Then the player's choice, whichever the player has chosen to play on the board, like mark their X or O, that will be taken from the user. And that marker, which is the X or O, will be placed on the board. That's what this particular step does. Then after that, we see if the game is over. I mean, if the player has won the game. Now, the way we have written this particular game is, we are checking in the first go itself if the game is a win check or if it's a draw. This need not be done for at least 4 or 5 chances, I think. We at least need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need at least 5 chances for the game to be at least a win, and it needs 9 chances for it to be a draw. So you can keep some kind of a counter here to avoid this kind of a check. However, I have not done that, and I keep that for you. If you have any if you guys have any doubt, please write in the comment section. I'll help you out. All right. So once we check if it's a win or it's a loss, if it's a win, we have to make sure that this kind of a condition is followed. So either this are equal, this, or this, or any of the other form, but all the 3 positions should be of the same marker, which is either X or O. If that happens, then it's a win game. If that doesn't happen, then we check if the board is full. If the board is full, that basically means it's a draw game. And if none of that happens, then we change the turn from player 1 to computer. And of course, in the next iteration, if you see here, it goes back to while game on, and since it's still true, it goes to check if the turn is player 1. Of course, the turn is not player 1, so it goes to else block, and the same continues. At the end of this particular computer's turn, I am changing the turn from computer to player 1. This continues until the player is either one of them wins or it's a draw game. And once this is done, it will break out of the loop, or the game on will become false. This particular flag will become false, and it will come out of this while loop. After which we'll be asking if not replay, meaning ask the user, do you want to play again, yes or no? So this is basically the game, and it's pretty simple. Let's get started with how it works. All right, so do you want to be X or O? I choose to be X. Observe, even if I give small x, I'm going to convert this input into an uppercase. I'll show that on top. If you see here, I'm converting it into an uppercase. Now, obviously, if you can understand here, if I was X, that means the computer was O. And if you see here, it was the computer's first turn. So computer has played and it says O. And computer has placed a marker in the position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the computer has placed the marker at the 9th position. So what will happen if I choose 9 again? Observe, it will ask me again. Now if I choose, let's say 8, observe, X has been placed at the 8th position. It asks for the input again. Did you observe one more thing? You saw that every time I give in a number, when I give a position, the screen gets cleared. It is thanks to this particular function, clear output. Now this is a function which is there in IPython.display, and I have imported that function and I'm calling it every time I display the board. And where am I displaying the board? I'm displaying the board every time a turn is changed. You see this? Turn is equal to player 1 and turn is equal to computers. I am in both the cases displaying the board. All right, so it's now my chance, and let me go ahead and place some position. Let me say I place at 5. All right, so computer has placed it at 3rd position. You see this? This is the 3rd position. Now let me block the computer by placing it in the 1st position. All right, so the computer has still won. You see, computer is pretty genius now. I made a silly mistake and I lost. I keep a question to you. What if I wanted to make the computer a little more smarter? If you see here, in this case, the computer was smart enough, but I wouldn't really say that, you know. Let me just play this game again and I'll show you how can I make the computer look dumb. All right, I've chosen X. The computer has placed a position O at the 5th position. Now I'll give 1. The computer has placed it at 6th position. Now I'll give 4 just to block the computer. And if you see, computer has gone for not the 7th position, but it has gone for a random position because the number being generated is random, and it has chosen 9. Now, of course, when I give 7 position, I win the game. You see this? This, I'm trying to say that computer is slightly dumber here. How can I make my computer smarter? I'll try to post that video in the next video. And but before that, if you guys have any idea, please write down in the comment section and I'll help you out saying whether it is right or wrong. I hope you really liked the video, and if you really did, please put in a like button there and subscribe to my channel.